It's 3 p.m. Let's get started. Let's friggin' go. This is really exciting stuff. Thank you for being with me today. My name is Christina Villarini, and I am the founder of the Empathetic Leader. It's been a while since I've done one of these trainings, so I'm stoked to be with you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are seeing a slide that says people first, enhancing teams, culture, and performance, you are in the right place. Welcome. So here's your necessary welcome slide where we're just going to talk about what we do. The Empathetic Leader is about maximum impact, not maximum profit. And you're going to hear a lot about that across the next couple of minutes, because the most interesting thing about exploring this is that I've worked at pretty much everything, including my own companies, are profit driven enterprises, right? Like, I understand that we live in a capitalist society, but the point of that is when we let the focus on profit and we over leverage and we forget that people are people. And the way that good things happen is when we let people be creative and interesting, and we understand the things that make them tick. We understand their intrinsic and extrinsic motivations. So, we believe at the Empathetic Leader that the future is full of dynamic, industrious, and open minded people who can elevate to the status of leaders and be profitable at the exact same time that they are being successful, right? And their people can like them. That's the trifecta, right? You can be a good person, you can crush it in business, and your competitors can like wonder how the hell you did it, but the people that work for you really want to be there. Those are the three things that you're trying to make happen. So we have a culture keys, like what are the foundational pieces of like what makes us tick? Why do we do this? Um, I believe that this work is unique because a lot of the time when people talk about soft skills, what they're doing is sort of implying that you cannot still be a killer at business, cannot still be a person that holds people accountable, cannot still be absolutely like the best in the world at what you do, while also being a good person, like understanding that your people are people, understanding that your teams have families and expectations and the pressures of the day to day that are also impacting them while they are working for you. So the soft skill sort of dialogue has largely focused on like these sort of invisible skills that you don't really elevate to the point of being as important as your actual skills, your talents, the things that you need. So you know our culture keys really are that we won't work with anybody who's kind of an asshole. A lot of people that we talk to are dealing with problems at work. They're dealing with problems with other individuals. Stylistically, their communication is not going the way that they want it to, or they're seeing a lot of churn overall. But the reality of the situation is that if you're a bad person and you don't think that you do anything wrong, we probably are not going to be the right fit for you. So that's just an important piece of all of this. So let's talk a little bit about me. I've spent almost 20 years, feels impossible that it's been that long, in a myriad of fields, including nonprofit, specifically social and civil justice, the financial services and insurance industry, specifically entrepreneurship, which I alluded to earlier. I started my own business multiple times. Empathetic Leader is, I believe, the third version of that. One is still in existence. The Empathetic Leader is also obviously in existence. And the first one kind of got absorbed by another company. So not a bad track record overall, but the highlight of my life has been the ability to hire, manage, and lead people, learning about people, the human behaviors and the psychology that is necessary to help people become the best versions of themselves. And when you think about how often and how long we spend time at work, it is it behooves us, and it behooved me to want to be good at that. So it became a really important part of my story and my journey to not suck as a manager. And one of the ways that I figured that out is that instead of sort of putting their company first, which, like, of course, right, there are tertiary goals and financial impacts and KPIs and all these things that are important. But when you're in the grind and in the foxhole hole with people, they want to know that you see them and you hear them and you recognize them and you appreciate them. And so the company is here, the team is here, right? These things are equal in the manager and the leader's mind. So, I've won a few awards. I've done some really incredible things. I say that I've lived a very professionally charmed life because I've gotten to do a lot of things that I wanted to do, none of which is as important or meaningful as this work that I'm doing now with the Empathetic Leader. So, one of the things I talked about when I posted was that this is the first time I'm doing this material because it's the concepts that came from my book, The People Are the Prize, Not the Profit. And the story of that was that I went to Nashville and spent 3 days with some of the smartest people I've ever met. And we collectively, figured out how to get better and how to tell stories and what's important in the stories we want to tell. And this, I think, is the first book in what I believe will be a series of 3. There will be, they will play with each other. They will all be focused on different subjects, but all really honing in on the concept of teams and people and management. So the people are the prize, not the profit, came from this idea that, like, the companies that are going to last the longest are going to be the ones that don't act as meat grinders or as proving grounds to create, the best and the brightest. Like, you see this all the time on LinkedIn, that people talk about the terrible experiences that they have had at a workplace. And it is, it's shocking that some of these companies that are doing this stuff are some of the biggest companies in the world, unceremoniously firing people, moving the goalposts, not allowing people to, use their time off. Like, there's a lot of meat grindery tactics that are being exposed right now on a lot of social media platforms, but most specifically LinkedIn. And when I see that stuff, I think, wow, you're winning right now, but it's there is a reckoning that will come because all of these folks talk to each other. People talk, and nothing is a secret. And social media has made everything very, very, very visible. So, this book is, near and dear to me. I'm hella proud of it, but it's also like, 80 power packed pages, I think, of ways that you can create systems and processes to start, like, actually putting people in a position to be successful. It talks about how you can hire and retain folks. It talks about the questions to ask. And it also, like, talks about, like, designing those SOPs and putting things in place so that you have a standard that you're applying when you're bringing people in, so that you're avoiding those moving the goalposts, and you're avoiding sort of the emotionality that comes when you're sort of being responsive to things in real time. And you, like, we're human, we make mistakes, right? um and we do have bias, and we do have favoritism, and we do have people that we feel better about working with than other people. So I think it's really, really, really important, um, that this book is a reference, and that people can, like, scribble in it and highlight it and play with it and use it depending on where they are in their management journey to help them create processes that create better teams. So what we're going to talk about today is like empathetic leadership, which is really the cornerstone of what we do. Active listening, which I think is one of the key components to like increasing your EQ, and giving you an opportunity to really change. If you're a person who's having tough dynamics or tough interpersonal relationships with your teams, then I think that active listening could be something, everybody kind of gets what active listening is, but I think it's a nice reminder of like something you can deploy tomorrow that can help you understand where people are coming from, be a little more patient and be a little more present, in understanding somebody else's perspective. And being able to understand somebody's perspective is a key component of empathetic leadership. Um, we talk a little bit about what being people first means. What does that actually mean? How do you build that? And then we talk about like empowering teams, which is, the biggest part of this whole thing. Um, if you are a person who is a solopreneur, you're trying to figure out where you go from here, as you're growing your business, this will also be helpful to you because you can put these things in place now so that you can test them when you bring people on board. So, what is empathetic leadership? It is a style of leadership. There are many styles of leadership, and I've done other presentations on those. Um, but what you're really trying to focus in on is understanding and being aware of the feelings and the thoughts and the experiences and the motivations of the people that are in your employ, and the reasons why they do what they do. I use this example a lot when I talk to managers because I think we should be talking about this stuff more. There are absolutely people in your building right now or on your team who just work to get a paycheck, feeding their family, feeding themselves, funding their lifestyle. That is all they care about. And they get to do it with you. And there's lots of reasons why. But knowing that is important so that you can react accordingly. Because that is not someone that you can say, well, we're family here. They don't want that. And you're being misguided and kind of manipulative as a leader by saying stuff like that. So understanding what motivates people to get to you and do the work and what their strengths are. Like, I say that I'm a player coach, right? Like, I do the work, I help other people do the work. But I've never asked anybody to do anything I would not do myself. And that's a really, really important part of leadership because people see that and they know that and they believe that. So, why would you want to actually be an empathetic leader? Why does that matter? Because when people feel like you're interested in what they're doing, they're going to be more interested. They're going to be more engaged. They're going to be more active. If you create a space where people fit and they're the right group of people and they trust each other and they see that there's competence and backup behind them And it's not just you, you're not the only person they can go to. They can rely on each other. And you're cultivating that spirit. Those people are going to get closer and those people are going to be in the foxhole together. That's important. When you have an increased trust and skill set and resource, the work gets better because you have more points of reference and more levels of experience and more conversations that you can have. And you're more inspired and you take a few more risks and you're more innovative because you have the safety of that support. You have the safety of that interest in that engagement. And it doesn't take a lot of people for you to do this and for it to start to expand. All it takes is 2 or 3 people who are putting out high quality work, who respect each other, who trust each other, who bust their asses every day. And then other people see that and it starts to become a little contagious. This is how you shift organizational culture. You have to have a couple of people who buy in, and you have to show the value, the net of why you do this. So this quote from Simon Sinek, leadership is not about being in charge. It is about taking care of those in your charge. That's right. We have a responsibility over other adults. It is incredibly unique. But if you are a leader, if you are a manager, if you are a partner, you have a responsibility over other people to make sure that they are in the best position to be successful when they're in your building for 8, 10, 12 hours. So let's talk about active listening. Active listening is when you look at your schedule and you see you've got 10 back-to-back calls, so you move your one-on-ones to another day. We have bought into this culture of multitasking and juggling and all of this extra stuff. And as a result of that, and I'm guilty of this a lot, I will actually say on a Zoom call, hey, can you repeat that? Hey, I don't think I understood, or I might have missed something. Which is just kind of shitty overall, but it's the direct response to the need or the trick, the illusion that I need to be doing 40 things at once to be successful, which, by the way, our brains are not good at. We are not good at. We're good at max 2. And those are really high processing people, by the way. So actively listening is actually being present and understanding and asking questions and repeating things back to people and looking them in the eye and getting all the information before you respond, hearing it, processing it, and continuing to build the puzzle together over the course of a conversation. It's not one way. And even if you know the answer, it's not about the answer as much as it's about the processing of the information, the receiving of the information. Where it becomes very unique with the framework of empathetic leadership is that you want to be able to put yourself into someone else's shoes. You want to be able to understand what happens if I was in that position. What would I do? How would I understand this? How would I deal with this? And that exercise of John did this because he told me he felt like that was his only option. Well, maybe John didn't have all the information, or maybe John was up against an unrealistic deadline, or maybe John took a shortcut. All of those things in this exercise are your problem. Those are your problems. John doesn't have all the information. He took a shortcut, or he did the best he could with what he had. These are leadership challenges. These are managerial challenges. These are your things, and they're all fixable. You can do it. This is easy. This is the easy part of management. Most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. And this is true. Unfortunately, everybody is trying to get their point across and missing the point altogether. So how do we build a people first culture? Well, everything in your mandate has to be focused on the people. It can't be focused on the profit. If your job is to build the widgets and deliver the widgets, well, let's focus on the people who have to build and deliver and execute on the widgets. John doesn't have the information. John doesn't understand the assignment. John has an unrealistic deadline. John took a shortcut. Nobody's ever coached John on why there's a better way to do that until you came along. And now you've got to undo and help him unlearn the 10, 20, 25 years of bad habits and non-coaching that has happened. You get to do that. That's people first. So you have to hire the right people, empathetic people, trainable people, people that listen actively, people that are good with other people. And you have to respond with empathy even when the things don't go the way you want them to go. And then you can embed in your team's culture, because there's the organizational culture, and then there's the way that you run your team. And that can go really far. I talk about this in the book, but there was a culture in an organization that I was in that was historically very not great. Pretty shitty, if we're being honest. And then there was the way that I was trying to assemble and elevate the people that were doing the work. And it was completely different than what else was going on. And that does not mean that I was in a place that was not true, or that we were working in a world that was not real. What we are talking about is we work in the world that we are in, and we build the world that we want. And people knew that if they were working with my team, that they had to come correct. They could not be mean or shitty or angry or disrespectful, because I was coming for them, because I was holding everyone to a standard. I was holding my team to a standard, and then I was holding everybody else to that standard as well. And when that standard was not met, when somebody walked into what we were building, our building, this like metaphorical space that my team and I were building together, when somebody came in there and they were disrespectful, they needed to be checked, because you were building something together, and everybody has to be held to the standard of excellence. And that is what people first is. You hold everyone to the standard. So that's why when I opened with this salvo, so to speak, about, the bullshit narrative of soft skills, I'm hella passionate about that, because I just think it's a lie. It's a lie that you can't be empathetic and a good leader and a good boss and also hold people accountable and put out excellent, high quality work every single day. Like I just don't think that those two things are incompatible. I don't think that soft skills and leadership are incompatible. And I think so many people have made a ton of money being bought into old world leadership tactics that what we have now is something disruptive. What I'm offering and what others have offered, Simon Sinek and Richard Branson and others are offering is a different way of thinking. Adam Grant, James Clear, and these folks are offering something new that is hella disruptive to the old world of business, and that is why it is uncomfortable, and that is why it's being sold as soft. So we prioritize health and well-being in people first cultures. We build systems with rigor. We have points of reference, SOPs, training manuals, guides, recordings. You're available. You operationalize the things you do. If something happens more than once, you understand how it works and you create a guideline around that so that somebody has a point of reference to go back to. You encourage open communication and collaboration and dialogue across your team, not just with you, but with each other. And sometimes, like, people are complicated. Not everybody's going to get along. And in those moments are when your leadership really has to shine. You have to facilitate the working together and facilitate the, mending of challenges. People are complicated. Not everybody gets along, but it's work. And you can help by putting all of these other sort of frameworks in place so that when those moments happen, it's like, oh, we're not a culture of a team of people who shit on each other. We don't do that. So let's squash it. Let's figure out how to work together. What's it going to take? And you can facilitate that a hell of a lot easier if people believe you and trust each other than if everybody feels like the minute I leave or turn around, I'm going to get stabbed in the back, whether it's by you or somebody else. And then you recognize and celebrate wins. My wins were my team wins. It was really, really easy to be at the top of the food chain taking like victory laps for stuff. But we did all that stuff together. We made money together. And here's the other point. If you're not good at what you do, none of this matters. Because to get people to buy into your leadership, you have to be the best in the world. This is not a replacement for being talented and skillful. You have to have those things. You actually do have to be able to bring things over the finish line. Take care of your employees and they'll take care of your business. Richard Branson, who I mentioned earlier. So how do we empower teams? We start to retrain the way we think about teams. Your team is not you. I was not creating an army of mini Christinas to deploy upon the world. I hired specialists who were better at things than me. And if they are not better than me at something, then I hired the wrong person or I wasn't being honest. We have to learn as leaders how to delegate and how to get out of the way. We have to provide the resources. I talked about this a little bit earlier. To help people continue to excel in their careers and to get a little more specialized. And then we have to actually encourage the autonomy and the innovation, right? We have to encourage people to try things and get out of their own comfort zones. And a lot of the time when I speak to people that are on teams, when they're in technical fields or fields where like there's only one or two ways to solve a problem, that's the field where you see most often that the person is like, my way is the way to do it. This is the way I do it. And in really technical fields like coding, like, yeah, there's a few ways to put that code together. There's only a few ways you can run that script correctly. But like, I'll also hear this from people who are in like sales, which is incredible to me. So you've got a senior sales leader teaching other guys how to sell. and he wants them to sell like he sells. And we even see that in the like coaching and consulting space where there's a little bit of like trickery and like, magic and illusion behind what you're doing. And if you are the best at what you are doing, it does not have to look like what I do. And as leaders, I think we have a lot of ego in what we have made and what we have built. And we see it as ours and ours alone. And we have to unlearn how to hold those things. And so we have to let people try and fail or try and succeed and be proud when they succeed and help them grow when they fail. And it can't be well, I told you. I think there is some component to instruction, and that goes back to active listening and open communication and dialogue. But we have to let people be people. And some of the greatest unexpected cool things have come out of the moments where we didn't know what was going to happen and we tried something and something else happened, but it worked. Like the human ingenuity, the spirit of innovation in trying to be reactive and competent at the same time and creative. So I think one of the challenges leaders have is just not letting go enough of the rope. The best leaders are those most interested in surrounding themselves with assistants and associates smarter than they are. That just goes back to the ego, right? This John Maxwell quote. Like we have to not be so afraid that we are gonna be dinosaurs or that we'll be disposable. Um, we just have to let people try and let them swim. So I want to talk a little bit about what we do at the Empathetic Leader. We do obviously free trainings like this. There's lots of different ones. I have a YouTube channel. I do stuff on TikTok. I do stuff on Facebook. I do stuff on the gram. We do customized individual or group coaching. We can, talk to your team, do different skills trainings around your team, help facilitate some greater communication across the board. And we can do that virtually or in person. Like I will travel to be in the room with folks. It really does help a lot to talk to people and hear them out. So that's a little bit more about what we do. So you can reach out to us at support@theempatheticleader.com. Our website is theempatheticleader.com. My name is Christina Villarini. If you have not bought my book, The People Are the Prize, Not the Profit, it is on Amazon. It's on Kindle, and you can go to, I'll drop this link in the chat, but it is go.theempatheticleader.com/new hyphen book. And so if if you'd like to buy a copy or a few copies, they're also available in paperback on the Amazon store. If you do get the book, please let me know what you think. Shoot that note to support@theempatheticleader.com. If you got the book and you'd like to get a couple of bonuses, shoot us a note and I can send you some of the things that didn't make it in the book, but like a checklist of questions you can ask for empathetic reviews and hiring and things like that. This has been a blast. Thanks for hanging. Happy Sunday for you folks who are still in Sunday and not Monday. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. I love you.